to another episode of EveryRing, that's everything wrestling. This week we look at something that is playing out as we speak. What if CM Punk had not left WWE in 2014? So sit back and let's enjoy. What if CM Punk had not left WWE in 2014? It would have significantly impacted the wrestling landscape, potentially altering WWE's creative direction. The rise of the Daniel Bryan, Yes movement, and the early development and talent pool of All Elite Wrestling (AEW). Without his departure, there would have been no CM Punk absence to create a void for others to fill, and he could have been a key player in future WWE feuds, potentially delaying or changing the career paths of other wrestlers like Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, and Brock Lesnar. The absence of the subsequent controversy and his eventual return to the wrestling world would have eliminated the need for AEW to create a new platform to sign him, potentially affecting its initial trajectory and talent acquisition. Impact on WWE. Creative direction. A continued CM Punk would have forced WWE to integrate him into their storylines, potentially changing the outcomes of WrestleManias and other major events that occurred after his 2014 departure. The rise of Daniel Bryan. Punk's absence created an opening for Daniel Bryan's Yes movement to reach its peak at WrestleMania 30. Without Punk's departure, Bryan might not have received the same opportunity, and the storyline could have been different. Evolution of the roster. Other wrestlers who gained prominence after 2014, such as the members of The Shield, could have seen their career paths shift with Punk still in the mix. WWE would have the voice of the voiceless on their roster could have changed everything. CM Punk sticking in the Fed would ultimately change the direction of many stories. The obvious was stated with Bryan Danielson's rise. The domino effect would be more integral. No Yes movement may have stopped what later became Kofi Mania. If the Yes movement never got off the rails, that may have led to future stories being muted. Having CM Punk in the fold would also meant he could have had his WrestleMania moment earlier, which would have altered the current WWE. Imagine Punk getting what he wanted earlier would possibly mean a Punk not seeking testing himself. In a strange resultant, Punk not leaving would also meant AJ Lee sticking around. Imagine that impact on the women's division. AJ Lee may still have been injured, but her mind could have been used as a tool to further the women's division. Impact on AEW. Original plans. Punk's departure from WWE was a key event that led to his eventual arrival in AEW, a situation that was a major boost for the new promotion's launch. If he had remained with WWE, this would not have happened. Talent pool. Punk was one of the biggest stars who joined AEW. His absence from the landscape would have left a void that AEW might not have been able to fill, potentially changing its talent pool and initial momentum. AEW is the alternative to the alternative, so if CM Punk never have left WWE may have altered Tony Khan's ideas to have actually created the company. It's true Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks were the cornerstones, but without Punk, those wrestlers could have been impacted earlier. Punk on the WWE roster could have changed wrestling as a whole, where Tony Khan not looking to create a brand. Punk was one of the wrestlers Tony admired the most, so him staying in WWE would possibly mean Tony to stay absorbed in the Fed's story. Now even if AEW was created, Punk not entering the fold would vastly affect some of the talent in interesting ways. The whole Elite vs Punk never happened, and everyone knows controversy gets attention, so let's say AEW was running but didn't have that controversial storyline. Or let's go 360, what if CM Punk remained in WWE but the creation of AEW would have given options to Punk where he may have called his shot and left on the onset of AEW? Can you imagine Punk being part of the cornerstones of the company? This could have led to many interesting stories for the future. With Punk, he could have been the inaugural AEW champion, where the domino effect would be so profound. Impact on TNA. Impact Wrestling. No hypothetical return. Punk has never performed for TNA in real life, but if he had stayed with WWE, there would have been no possibility of his hypothetical 2021 return to TNA as a major star to help build up the company. So it would appear Punk staying wouldn't really affected TNA, but that isn't necessarily the real story. Imagine Punk remains but contracts run out and TNA starting to get interesting, where Punk's contract runs out and he signs with TNA. This is a big what if. Scott D'Amore getting the contract of Punk would have made TNA the real deal. Having him in the fold would have gotten eyes on the prize. Punk would have been in his prime, and with TNA having some wrestlers that could have created magic. Imagine Punk vs AJ Styles. That could created another domino effect where Styles never leaving TNA. Imagine that what if. Having Punk on TNA would made the company very viable and may have changed the trajectory of TNA. Having Punk could have helped getting other talent. So let's say Bryan Danielson never got the yes movement where he felt jilted and he took the ball to join Punk in TNA, and possibly create magic for the company. Punk being in TNA could affect the progress of EC3, Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley, where they may not have gotten the push, and again that could have led to a lot of alterations to story. So Punk staying and withstanding WWE until contract was up and taking a TNA route would be crazy and may also hindered EU built up, so one wrestler staying would have been a major game changer. Wow, that's another what if. If you have a possible ideas, send us an email at everyring@gmail.com. Thank you, and we appreciate all our fans. Now to predictions and discussion. Let's wrestle.
Skyler. I'm here with predictions of a big night of wrestling. AEW All Out. 1. Cope and Christian vs FTR. This has been building up for some time, from Cope teaming with FTR to the point where attacks led to Christian finding himself. This should be a great tag match where Cope and Christian win, possibly leading to future tag gold. Winner. Cope and Christian. 2. Tables in. Tax match. MJF vs Mark Briscoe. I honestly don't get who this helps and what the real reason why this match is taking place. I'm sure it will be a fantastic match, it's just the logistics are problematic. Winner. MJF. 3. Coffin match. Darby Allin vs Jon Moxley. This match has been a long time coming and should be an absolute banger where both men have no limits. Winner. Darby Allin. 4. Four-way ladder match for the AEW World Tag Team Championship. Brodido, Seat vs Young Bucks vs Jet Speed vs Don Callis Family. This should be fun and there is an opportunity to create a fun tag division. Brodido have been great together. Winner. Brodido, C. retain. 5. AEW TBS Championship. Mercedes Moné, C. vs Riho. Mercedes continues to be the ultimate belt collector and seems to not look to lose anytime soon. Winner. Mercedes Moné retains. 6. Triple Threat AEW Unified Championship. Okada, C. vs Alpha Takashita vs Mascara Dorada. Okada continues to build momentum where the addition of Dorada will take the pin while building a singles match between Okada and Takashita. Winner. Okada retains. 7. Four-way AEW Women's World Title. Timeless Toni Storm, C. vs Jamie Hayter vs Chris Statlander vs Thekila. This may be the hardest to predict but hidden gem in the card. Timeless Toni Storm continues to be the MVP of AEW. Winner. Toni Storm retains. 8. AEW World Championship. Hangman Page, C. vs TNT champ Kyle Fletcher. This should be very entertaining, but I feel Adam Page is just boring and giving the title less value. Yet it's too early to take the belt from him, and Tony Khan is predictable. Winner. Adam Page retains. Of course there are other matches like the Hurt Syndicate vs Ricochet and Goa, but I feel that's a pre-match. Plus there are indications Eddie Kingston returns to face Big Bill, so there is that. Well, Wrestlepalooza. 1. Singles match. John Cena vs Brock Lesnar. John Cena's farewell tour continues and this is almost a fantasy pairing for the ride into the sunset. Winner. Brock Lesnar. 2. The Usos vs The Vision with Paul Heyman. Usos are back, but with LA Knight seeking revenge, it may come back to haunt Jey Uso. Winner. The Vision. 3. Mixed Tag Team Match. CM Punk and AJ Lee vs WWE World Champ Seth Rollins and IC Champion Becky Lynch. The build-up has been paced perfectly and this has the potential to build up future matches. Feel-good story of seeing AJ Lee back in the ring. Winner. CM Punk and AJ Lee. 4. Vacated Women's World Title. Io Sky vs Stephanie Vaquer. Two of the greatest international superstars will put on possibly the match of the night. With the conflict between Kabuki Warriors and Rhea Ripley, I feel the match will have a fishy ending. Winner. and new WWE Women's Champion Stephanie Vacker. 5. WWE World Championship. Cody Rhodes C vs Drew McIntyre. On paper, this should be a banger. It should be connect the dots match, but with Cody Rhodes filming movies, it won't the perfect time to reward Drew McIntyre. Winner. And new WWE World Champion Drew McIntyre. Well, that is our predictions. Of course there could have been more matches, but Triple H is set in 5 matches per premium event. Now to Avard and the predictions.
Oh, what a great what if and some very interesting predictions. Now let's tackle the discussion. Congrats are in order for WWE IC Women's Champion, where the Bleacher Report has named her the #1 woman of all time in wrestling in WWE. 10. Lita. 9. Asuka. 8. Chyna. 7. Bianca Belair. 6. Bayley. 5. Sasha Banks, AU Mercedes Moon. 4. Rhea Ripley. 3. Trish Stratus. 2. Charlotte Flair. 1. Becky Lynch. This week we witnessed NXT's Homecoming, where a lot was teased, where War Games was called out. TNA started to express their frustrations. The women's tag champs retained and Carmelo and Trick was successful. We also witnessed AU September to Remember, where Cope and Christian met up with FTR, where chaos erupted. As mentioned a few weeks ago, craziness was front and center with Raja Jackson attacking Psychos 2. This week Raja Jackson was charged with a felony. If those watching Homecoming noticed, Joe Hendry was in the video package. It was noted he'll be phased out of TNA for his full WWE run. With teasers of TNA invasion, this could mean insiders, especially with Jordan Grace, which could be a brilliant storytelling. Many were excited during Homecoming to see Shayna Baszler backstage, but it's been stated it's a one-off, even though there are rumblings of her possibly getting a backstage role, but nothing has been discussed. In the same note, TNA had a special appearance by Mr. Anderson, again said to be a one-off. Also noted, most of the matches have been highlighted for TNA's Victory Road. TNA Knockouts Championship Ash by Elegance C vs Masha Slamovich. Mike Santana vs Ridge Holland. TNA X Division Championship Leon Slater C vs Myron Reed. Mustafa Ali vs Moose. TNA Knockouts Tag Championship. Elegance Brand C vs The Inspiration. Well, let's go with matches of the week, wrestlers of the week and indie star of the week. Matches of the week. WWE Raw. Stephanie Vacker vs Kairi Sane. This match delivered athleticism and building of storyline. Stephanie Vacker again prevailed but furthered story of Kabuki Warriors, Io Sky and Rhea Ripley. NXT, the 6-woman All-Star match. Tiffany Stratton wasn't cleared, but Lyra Valkyrie was in to fill the spot. Rhea Ripley, Stephanie Vacker and Lyra Valkyrie vs Fatal Influence, Jessie Jane, Fallon Henley and Jasmine Nix. This match was a pure blast and had fans cheering from beginning to end. Smackdown. US title match, Sami Zayn C vs Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo was magnificent and should have won this match, but it was a pure banger. AU September to Remember. Bobby Lashley vs Toa Liona. Meaty men slapping meat match. Toa Liona was manhandling Bobby for a large portion of the match. TNA Tag Team Title Match. Hardy Boys vs Namaths. This was a premium event match for free and it delivered. Wrestlers of the Week. WWE, Scream Queens. The WWE Women's Champions are workhorses and are finally giving the titles prestige. The matches at NXT Homecoming and Smackdown were the perfect way to highlight the stars. AU Cope and Christian. The two are perfect foils for each other, especially the brawl they had with FTR. TNA, the Elegance Brand. This faction has become a well-oiled machine and there is no denying their presence. Outsmarting Masha Slamovich and Inspiration proves they are ahead of the curve for the Knockouts division. Indie Stars of the Week. Stephen Wolf and Exodus Prime, new Texas Tag Team Champions. Having an instant classic with the Dream Team, this team is exciting and fun to watch. Well, that's another episode of EveryRing, that's everything wrestling. Chalo kushti karate hai.
Wrestling is something special. As you can see, our human element dealt with a lot of superstars. King Kong Bundy, a wrestler deserving WWE Hall of Fame. Sherry Martel was an amazing person who helped revolutionize the women's division. The Crusher, who Milwaukee famous, was a classic star. Puppet the Midget was a bigger-than-life superstar who is both engaging and ahead of his time. Wrestling is life and we want to push it forward.
Thanks for tuning in to Channel 14, Kenosha Community Television. Remember to tune into my program, Just Talkin', shown right here, Tuesday and Wednesday nights at 8:30 p.m. until 9 p.m. on Channel 14. On the program, we cover community events, talk to nonprofit organizations, and who knows, we may bump into a celebrity now and then. So remember to tune in to Just Talkin' Tuesday and Wednesday nights at 8:30 p.m. right here on Channel 14.
EveryRing That's Everything Wrestling is carrying out the tradition that was brought to you by Diablo Angelico and Danger Dan. The show must go on. Mondays at 5 p.m. and Fridays at 6 p.m. on Kenosha Community Media, Channel 14 with Spectrum, or on Roku KCM streaming. With EveryRing That's Everything Wrestling will keep you updated and informed. Mondays at 5 p.m. Fridays at 6 p.m. Tune in and enjoy wrestling. The renaissance of wrestling is occurring as we speak, so be part of sports entertainment. Each week you can see the discussion with topics, wrestlers and matches of the week. Looking at the big three: WWE, AEW and TNA. So if you enjoy wrestling and everything that makes wrestling special, tune in KCM 14 on Mondays at 5 p.m. and Fridays at 6 p.m. EveryRing That's Everything Wrestling.
Bonkers Cartoon Apocalypse, where classic cartoons are revisited. Saturday at 10 a.m. and Sundays 10:30 a.m. If you enjoy classic and rare cartoons, you go to show. Nigel the Yeti is taking the reins while Mr. Boinkers add to the programming. The likes of Betty Boop, Popeye, Porky Pig, Daffy Duck, Mickey Mouse, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, Felix the Cat and so much more. On Kenosha Community Media Channel 14, sit back with friends and family and relive the magic of morning cartoons. Wake up, gather the family and enjoy cereal and relive one's youth. Mr. Boinkers Cartoon Apocalypse, where whimsy is part of the magic. Join the other circus freaks where cartoons were fun and artistic. Every Saturday at 10 a.m. and Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Enjoy what made mornings special. Mr. Boinkers Cartoon Apocalypse, where classics fill the time. What the heck are we watching? Movie reviews without pompous and pretentious critics who have agendas. Kenosha Community Media, Fridays at 5 p.m. and Saturdays at 10:30 a.m. Cinephiles who like movies for entertainment and not rants and raves, who make the audiences feel bad for themselves. Weekly discussion on movies and with no alternatives. The movie reviews are to help audiences to make their decision. Not only are modern movies reviewed, but a discussion on hidden gems, where good movies that have fallen through the cracks and forgotten. So before you go out, check out What the Heck Are We Watching? On Kenosha Community Media Channel 14. Fridays at 5 p.m. and Saturdays at 10:30 a.m.
September 24, 2025 at 7 p.m. a special night of honoring a fellow Kenosian, Bert I. Gordon, or better known as Mr. Big. The night will serve two purposes. One, to honor a director from the great city of Kenosha. Two, to highlight what Kenosha has and why not much is done to honor it. Located at the Southwest Library, 7979 38th Avenue, Kenosha, Wisconsin, 53142. Come for the conversation, stay for the sweets and prizes. If this is successful, look forward to more casual discussions. Cinephiles are welcome to engage in the conversation. Fans of midnight movies are also encouraged. Kenosha has so much to offer, so let's delve into it. Wednesday, September 24, 2025 at 7 p.m.
You haven't seen horror till you've seen horror of the crying skull. See teenagers getting killed. See horror coming at you every scene, and a skull. See the skull coming at you. The skull, and hear her cry. I hope you enjoy the horror of the crying skull.
Just Turned Heel. Hosted by Danger Dan and Diablo Angelico, as seen on EveryRing That's Everything Wrestling. Behind the curtain look at professional wrestling. A gritty shoot style of interviews where we look at various aspects of wrestling. Ever wanted to know what an indie star needs to do to get their foot in the door? Ever wanted to know what a booker does? Ever wanted to know the purpose of a referee is? Just Turned Heel will plunge into the world of wrestling and look at every facet. Just Turned Heel, YouTube exclusive, starting January 28, 2024.